Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I have one of those one pad of paper, lots of cards video. So get comfy, let's get crafty. I went browsing through Joann's while I was waiting in between appointments and I found this Park Lane paper pad. This leans more masculine, more outdoorsy, camping, save the earth, planet, animals kind of thing. There is some foil on the pages. It's a really nice paper pad. It is a 6 by 8 inch paper pad. So it would also work really nice for slimline and mini slimline cards. But along with this paper pad, they had a pack of ephemera. So I am going to zoom fast through this ephemera and pick out the pieces that I think will work best for some quick masculine themed birthday cards. I have a lot of men, male, boy birthdays in the next few weeks, including some I should have already sent cards to. So that's what I'm going to be working on here. And in the ephemera pack, I pulled out these pieces of ephemera and decided I could get away with stacking some of them and it would still look pretty cool. And in the end, I end up with 8 cards or 8 pieces of ephemera that I'm going to pair with pattern papers and make cards for. So this first one is the tree. The second one is that kind of sunrise valley. I like this camping scene, maybe use the back of the paper. This one is, of course, all about the bicycles. This is another just scenes. They're very, very simple and easy to create cards. But that's what is so cool about these paper pad cards. So my first card is going to be the one with this line of trees on this kind of ombre green-blue background. So I need to find a card base. I went through my cardstock stash and found a blue that is very similar. I'm going to apologize real quick. Somehow my camera gets zoomed in here. And it is zoomed in way too far. There's a lot of things that are off screen or that I cut out because they were off screen. So it's kind of a quick video for 8 cards, but it's all pattern paper and cardstock and then this ephemera pack. So it's okay. It'll still be fun. This is going to be a landscape card, so it will be horizontal. I'm trimming the pattern paper down to 5 1/4 inches wide by 4 inches tall, and then I'm going to just center it on my card base here. And then I'm going to line the trees up on the front of the card. And I'm going to use double-sided adhesive. This is my ATG double-sided adhesive to put the pattern paper on the cardstock. I'm going to center that visually center that. My card base was folded kind of wonky, so I flipped it inside out and refolded that because I can. And it works. Okay, so that pattern paper is visually centered. I'm going to bring my line of trees back in and add some foam tape to that. This is a little tiny roll of foam tape that, okay, stupid story. My big, huge mama roll of foam tape was starting to get low, so I went on Amazon to get a new one. They said, hey, by the way, we don't make that one anymore, but here's one you might like. So I said, okay, click. It's this little teeny tiny roll. How does this little teeny tiny roll even come close to that big giant roll of foam tape that's like the size of your head? I don't know. It's not even the same dimension. So Amazon dropped the ball on that one. But anyway, I've got it in my craft room. I'm going to use it. So I just put a bunch of little pieces of foam tape on the back of that tree line. And then I'm going to add a sentiment. I am going to use this Lawn Fawn birthday sentiment. And I'm actually going to use the belated part because I have a nephew whose birthday has come and gone and his card still has not been mailed and or created. So I'm going to use this one. I'm also going to put some foam tape on this happy belated birthday sentiment, but I'm only going to put it on the bottom half of that sentiment strip because the top half is going to go over the top of those trees. And voila, easy, fast card. I am going to add a piece of copy paper to the inside of my card so that I can write in it, and that is card number 1. Card number 2 is this puppy piece of ephemera and the puppy paper and a black card base. I did throw a piece of white paper, scrap paper down so you can see the black card base. I have put my black cutting mat back on my desk because it doesn't reflect the lights in my room quite as bad. But I miss having the glass mat that's, white so you can see all the things. So I don't know. I'm just not satisfied ever, I know. This is a landscape style card. I'm trimming the pattern paper down as well. And this is when I realized that, you know, as I was editing, that, oh my heavens, what happened to my camera? It like zoomed in a ton. A lot of things are off screen. I don't even know. I am using this My Favorite Things Sentiment stamp set. I don't know the name of it. If I remember to pull them back out of my box of things to put away, I will put the stamp set names down in the information box below. But this stamp says, the stamp says, a great big happy birthday. And I thought that was kind of cool because it looks like that dog might be kind of a big dog, kind of a happy dog. And this card is being put together in flat layers, no dimensional foam tape. The green that I stamped the sentiment on is the top half of the pattern paper from the first card. And there is that same green stripe in our half circle rainbow kind of thing there, so it coordinates nicely. I like having that dog piece stacked up on top of that half circle. I think it looks nice. I don't know. And then I'm going to put the sentiment strip at the bottom of that circle. Add the piece of copy paper to the inside, and that's card number 2. Card number 3 is this pattern paper with the trees on it. I'm taking the other half of that blue cardstock from card number 1 and creating a portrait style card, but it will be a side fold card. And I am trimming down that tree paper to be 5 1/4 by 4 inches, 5 1/4 inches tall. This piece of paper has some green foiling on some of those trees, so it's a little bit shiny. And also the ephemera piece I picked out has a silver strip of foiling there. So I am going to pull out the stamp set. This is another My Favorite Things, and figure out which sentiment will fit in that blue square. And then I'm going to prep it for some heat embossing. So I've picked the stamp set that says, heck yeah, it's your birthday. I'm going to position that with my stamp positioner. Then I will prep the paper with my anti-static powder tool so that I can stamp the sentiment up in Versamark ink and then apply some silver embossing powder. I think my silver embossing powder I pull out is Tailored Expressions. I have a couple of different brands. I have a Ranger, I have a Simon Says stamp, but the one that I grabbed was Tailored Expressions. So, you know, it's okay. It's not a super fine type font, but the Tailored Expressions embossing powder is a fine embossing powder. So I am going to put the tree paper down flat with my double-sided adhesive, and then I'm going to pull out that skinny roll or the small roll of foam tape and put a little dimension behind the sentiment square. And this is that, I don't even understand this. This is actually a great dimensional for cards you don't want to be super thick because it is a very low, it's not very high. That's what I'm trying to say. Words are hard, y'all. So I'm still unsure why Amazon thought that was a good substitute, but whatever. And then I'm just putting in my copy paper to finish off the inside of my card, and that is card number 3. So card number 4 is this kind of ombre orange to yellow pattern paper. I'm going to put it on a piece of craft cardstock for the card base. This will be a top folding portrait style card, and I'm going to trim that down. But instead of trimming on the side where the stripes got wider on the left, I actually trimmed off the wide side and kept more of the narrow strips for this card. That's kind of the opposite that I did with the blue to green version of this page. And I am going to add the remainder of that green paper as a mat. So I actually ended up trimming this back down to be 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches. And then this green piece, you can see it still has like the peg hole in it from the part you're supposed to trim off. But it is the tiniest border of piece of paper. But it gives that nice mat, and you cannot see the perforation where you're supposed to tear it, and you cannot see the hole on the green paper. And it gives it just enough green to match the green in the tree ephemera that I picked for this card. So once I have those two pieces of pattern paper matted together, I can add them to my card base, and then I can add my tree. And I've put the tree down, or I'm going to put the tree down, and then I'm going to stamp my sentiment right onto the card. I know, I should have done it before I adhered the tree. That was a total risk. I think in my brain, okay, I think my brain wasn't thinking. Because if I knew I was going to stamp my sentiment right onto the card base, I would have done it before the tree. But also I needed to know where the tree was going to be so I could put the stamp on. I don't even know. I was thinking in backwards order today. This says you were born. I like that. It is another sentiment from my favorite things. Adding the inside copy paper, and card number 4 is finished. Card number 5 is kind of this geometric pattern. It's blue with some craft and orange designs to it. And I've picked out for the ephemera that little square that looks like it's a piece of art. And then I've cut a piece of the yellow off of the top half of the card pattern paper from the previous card. Sorry, my allergies are super annoyed today. I am backing this onto an orange card base, or adding it rather to an orange card base. And I want to put that yellow stripe underneath my little picture, and I want to stamp the sentiment on it. I'm going to pull that Lawn Fawn stamp set out again, and instead of using the belated, I'm just going to stamp happy birthday. But I need to stack stamp them, so I need to put birthday in my MISTI first and ink that up with my black ink and stamp that down. And then I need to put the happy stamp set in and ink that and stamp that. And I tried to get them as close as I could without touching each other, because, you know, that's how you roll. You can't have your letters touching each other. It's kind of like your kids in the car. They can't be close enough to touch each other. Once I have that stamped, I'm going to first adhere my little piece of artwork to the yellow strip. And I'm putting it just right up against the Y in that birthday, because I'm not entirely sure on my positioning here. So I'm going to grab the pattern paper panel and kind of put it down. I'm just kind of measuring to make sure it's straight. I'm not worried about the margins on the left and the right. And then I'm trimming off the excess and adhering that down to my orange card base. And then I just add the insides or the copy paper to the inside of the card, which these pattern paper stack cards go so quick. I think to make all 8 cards, I had about an hour's worth of footage. And that includes the time when I was sitting there thinking about how I'm going to put this all together, the parts that I edited out. So there's card number 5. Card number 6 is our bicycle card, and I'm using a super dark green card base, or card stock for the card base. This is a top folding portrait style card. I will trim that bicycle pattern paper down to be 5 1/4 by 4 inches wide. And I chose the dark green because this pattern paper has some of those really dark green bicycles in it. And this is going to be just a super easy layout, but it took me a minute. So I want to put the bicycle ephemera piece on top of that little orange. I think if this was like a 12 by 12 pad, that would be a photo mat, right? But it's just a little orange cutout. And then I'm going to stamp a sentiment on. So this is the back side of that paper. And there's a blue strip that is plain, and then the orange strip has the trees in it. I am going to heat emboss the sentiment in that blue strip. And this is another one from my favorite things. It says, "Let's celebrate you." I am going to heat emboss that with the same silver embossing powder that I used before. But I was playing with fire here because I forgot to prep my paper with the anti-static powder. And there are a couple of places where the embossing powder left a couple little extra speckles, you know, little dots. But I'm going to pretend they're not there because they're not super visible, and we're just going to move on. Okay, adhering everything down with double-sided adhesive. This is also one that has no dimension because because. Now, I did not know how I wanted to assemble this. And this is how I decided. Usually I feel like I go to that bottom right corner. This time I decided to go to the bottom left corner for my placement, just to shake it up a little bit. Because why not, right? Because why not? I did put the sentiment strip down, and then I'm centering the image over the top of that. I'm like centering over the sentiment strip. Wow, that's a lot of centerings. And adding my insides, and that is card number 6. Card number 7 has none of the ephemera. It is just this piece of paper that had the camper and the Jeep or whatever pulling the camper, and I pulled out a piece of yellowish cardstock. This is one of the ugly colors of cardstock I have. It's not my favorite yellow, but it matches a lot of things. So anyway, I did also pull out some gray cardstock to create a mat. So I cut that image down to be 5 by 3 3/4, and then the gray mat is 4 by 5 1/4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and put double-sided adhesive on the gray mat and go ahead and put this all together on my card base. But the one thing about this design is that there's a little back to nature thing stamped there that I had to cut off to make it fit. And so I'm going to cover it up. I have a piece of scrap gray cardstock here and a little teeny tiny Simon Says stamp sentiment set. This is like literally the smallest sentiments, like type font you can even possibly find. I'm stamping it in that Versamark or Versaclear Nocturne black ink. And then I'm going to adhere it right over that typeset or that typing on the pattern paper. So I trimmed it really close to the right side, and once I laid it down, I trimmed it off. So it just says happy birthday. And I'm going to put this copy paper to the inside of our yellow card base. It's kind of a yellow greenish color. I don't know. Chartreuse almost. I don't know. And that's card number 7. Okay, so the last card, card number 8, has this confetti kind of looking pattern paper, plus that little ephemera piece that looks like a sunrise with the Rainbow Valley. And I'm going through the scraps of the leftover cards to find another piece to add. And I like the trees, but I also kind of like that piece of the yellow orange, and I went back and forth. I ended up going with the trees. So I pulled out the other piece of that orange cardstock that I had used before and created a top folding portrait style card with that. So I scored it at 5 1/2 inches. And then I'm going to trim down that kind of confetti-y looking. It's not really confetti. It's kind of rectangles and half circles and triangles and pyramid, but we're calling it confetti because it's my card and I can. Okay, so all of that paper trimming was way off camera because I'm super zoomed in, so I just edited that out. And it's all trimmed down and ready to go. And I have the pattern paper that is 4 by 5 1/4 inches, 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 inches tall. And I'm just visually centering that on my card base. There was a little bit of fuzz hanging off my card base I needed to trim. This tree piece is 3 3/4 inches by about 1.5 inches wide. And then this little ephemera piece I'm going to pop up on foam tape. And I paid no attention whatsoever to where I had placed it before because then I moved it. Excuse me. And I played with it and played with it and played with it. And then I put it down right here, which is not at all where I thought I would be placing this piece of ephemera. This, my favorite thing stamp set, has a sentiment that says, "The world needs more you." And I thought that could be a birthday card, but it could also be a just about anything card. So I am putting that down with double-sided adhesive, but the ends need a little bit of foam tape because that little square ephemera piece has been popped up with foam tape. So I am fidgeting with a couple of little tiny pieces of foam tape to stick them underneath the tails of my sentiment strip. The right-hand side hangs off a little bit more than the left-hand side, so the left-hand side needed a little smaller piece. And then it's time for the copy paper to go inside the card, and card number 8 is complete. And we're going to go through them one more time really quick so that you can See how they all finished up. Some of them are very flat. Some of them have some dimension. Here's a couple more zoomed in pictures of each card, or another picture of each card where it's zoomed in a little bit closer so you can see some of the elements and the shininess to that foil and the heat embossing. I do not need another pad of pattern paper in my craft room. I 100% will buy another one because I love that I can make a whole bunch of cards at one time, and because I'm addicted to pattern paper. But don't tell anybody. It's a secret, just between you and me. Thanks for stopping by today. I have a couple other videos here I think you might like as well. I've also added a subscribe button. If you have not subscribed, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment down below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Tell YouTube you liked it. And I hope you have a really fabulous day.